The following program has been rated S for spoilers, which may or may not be discussed by the hosts of said program. Common sense is suggested. You silly person.
Hello and welcome to Erin and Drew's movie reviews. Call me Drew.
I'm Erin. I can't even try to speak in a gravelly voice.
No. Yeah. President of what? Anyway, did you say your name?
Just get me out of here. Yeah. No, I did say my name. My name is Erin.
Yeah.
If you could not understand me through whatever that was. Hi.
She's Erin.
I'm Erin.
Okay. And, Kurt Russell impersonations aside. Actually, it's a Kurt Russell impersonation of a Clint Eastwood impersonation. But the movie we're talking about is Escape from New York. This would be the third member of this year's class of 1981, the other two being Clash of the Titans and The Great Muppet Caper. So this is the third member of the class, and there will be more, just to let you know. This was produced in 1980, came out in 81 by John Carpenter, who had previously done Halloween, of course, and movies like The Fog. And what else did he script? Let me see. Oh, he did a Elvis biopic for, it was for ABC TV. It was a TV movie. And guess who played Elvis?
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell. That's where they
Guess who's the only person who's been in a movie with Elvis and has then played Elvis?
That's right.
Kurt Russell.
Yeah. What was the movie?
I don't remember.
I want to say like Blue Hawaii or something.
Possibly. I don't know.
I don't think that's right. But
I
when
have
he was a
one
kid,
trivia.
but when Kurt Russell grew up as a kid actor, being in a lot of Disney movies, and he was in something with Elvis, but I don't remember which film. I'm sure people are throwing stuff at the TV right now.
We're sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I haven't read the entire internet yet.
No.
Yet.
You're not even going to scratch the surface. No. That's how it's just kind of how it rolls. So, but yeah, and he'd actually written this. John Carpenter wrote this movie before he made Halloween, and it kind of sat in a drawer for years just because there was never the budget or anything. But then finally, he gets his chance to make
It's
this
like,
movie.
yes.
Yeah, and what an idea and technically this is one of those future past movies because it was supposed to have taken place in 1997.
Yep.
Which is now, as of this recording, 4 years ago, I think.
24.
24 years ago. Yeah.
Yep.
That is just, wow.
Ugh.
But hey, give it a few more years. It might still happen. You never know.
First they have to turn New York into a prison.
Oh, it's not a prison yet? Oh, well.
Not yet.
No.
Not with the barricade around it.
Well, give it time. It's like we had a certain government a while ago that was interested in building walls or had. I said, "Ooh, does that mean they're going to build a wall around New York?" That's like the only reason it got me excited about that. But
complete the wall around the entire United States and put all the prisoners here. Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. So it was kind of similar idea, but didn't quite.
Yeah.
Well, that's a whole other thing.
Meh.
But anyway, in 1997, the crime. Well, this is all detailed in the beginning of the movie because they had a test screening and people didn't know why New York was the way it was in the movie, so they kind of went back and added this, kind of like the opening crawl in Star Wars, where you kind of describe what's going on in the movie.
They needed an exposition
Yeah,
drop.
the crime rate went up 400%, and rather they took and basically turned Manhattan Island into one giant jail with like walls around it. And that's not CGI that they use at the beginning. It's actual hand-done animation. But I think, in HD, it looks pretty cool. I think it holds up pretty well. But do you know who did the voice
Yeah, I did. I do.
Mm-hmm.
I looked this one up.
Oh.
That's Jamie Lee Curtis.
It is Jamie Lee Curtis, uncredited, did the voiceover.
Uncredited.
And she
Do
comes
you know
back.
who painted the matte paintings?
Actually, I do. James Cameron.
We have read the same trivia.
Yeah. Well, I've known about this for decades because
Yeah.
this is one of my favorite films. So, but yeah, a lot of and then James Cameron hired a lot of these people to come back and work for him when he made like Aliens and Terminator and things like that. So, yeah, and so then you kind of get an example of what the world's like when you see two guys trying to escape on a stupid little raft in this helicopter, basically.
Turn around.
It told them to turn around. Of course, they don't. And what do? They basically get incinerated immediately. So, but then you get the arrival of a special prisoner who you find out is someone named Snake Pliskin, who was...
Man, I thought he died.
Yeah. Heard you were dead. Another recurring theme throughout the movie. See, now that's how I should have started the show when you said your name. I should have said, I heard you were dead.
Heard you were dead. Yeah. Not this time.
Not this time. And you kind of get the 411 on him that he is a war hero, but supposedly went the wrong way, or maybe the government went the wrong way, depending on who you believe, because, you know, he's kind of out of time, because he's kind of like, the phrase I've heard is like a man without a country, because he doesn't know who he's serving anymore.
Right.
Because he's kind of anti-heroish, because he doesn't really care about anybody. He basically does what they ask him to do so he can get his own freedom.
Yep. Free agent.
Yes, very much
He's got a mullet and an eye patch and
an actual snake tattoo.
a snake tattoo.
Yeah, which we discover a little later on in the movie. But yeah, and while this is going on, some radicals, I guess we'll call them, take over Air Force One, causing it to crash into Manhattan Island. But the president manages to get out in
an orb?
In an Easter egg.
In an Easter egg. Did he just call it the orb? Did I hear that right?
I don't know if they actually call it, well, in the commentary, which I watched, listened to, watched with the commentary on, I'll say, they did call it, John Carpenter affectionately call it the Easter egg, which caused Kurt Russell to burst down in laughter. So, if you can watch, whether it's this movie, The Thing, or Big Trouble in Little China, they all have commentaries with John Carpenter and Kurt Russell doing it together.
Nice.
Please listen to it, because it is just a joy. All three of them are fantastic. Because a lot of times, if you buy home physical media, like I have for like the last couple decades, and still do.
Humble brag.
Yeah, humble brag. I don't know. I stream. If I really like a movie, I'll buy it. You know, I don't like to stream. Well, that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, no. Understand.
Yes.
Same boat.
Yeah, I didn't bring mine with me today, though. I have this really nice special edition, but yeah, I'm sorry.
Fail.
Yes. You know, I was gonna buy this soundtrack on vinyl.
Ooh.
I found a copy on eBay. You know how much it was going for?
Upwards to 100, 150?
$80.
$80? Ugh.
For original printing from like 1981.
Ooh.
Yep. So I think, I might have to settle for the MP3.
Yeah.
I can't really find it on disc either.
No.
But yeah, it's kind of hard to find. But what was I talking about again? Oh, President Egg. Yeah, Donald Pleasance, who, for some reason, the president of the United States is British.
He's the love child of Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, that would be about the right time. Yeah.
Again, I read the trivia on this.
So it's like Manhattan's supposed to be this dark and moody place. Like, how are they not going to see a day-glow egg flying out of the sky?
Bright red.
Yeah, it just... Like, did it come out of like a giant bright orange goose? Just...
Well, technically, it didn't come out of a flying...
So anyway, the prisoners get a hold of the president. Well, the people who keep an eye on New York from afar behind the walls, they're called the United States Police Force, run by Lee Van Cleef, who was, John Carpenter is a big fan of his because he was in The Good, Bad, and the Ugly with Clint Eastwood and tons of westerns. He's a tough guy western. He's your garden variety heavy in the westerns. He's always the bad guy in westerns.
Yep.
So that's kind of how he got this part. And they all bust into the prison to go find the escape pod or escape pod, orb thing, and they find it, and it's he's not in there or whatever, and then they meet up with him and says, "Oh yeah, if you don't get out of here, he's dead." So they figure it's not very good. So they make Mr. Pliskin an offer he basically can't refuse. Hey, you get
especially not with those electrodes in his neck.
No. So they say, hey, if you go, you kind of look like a scumbag. If you just kind of sneak in there and you get him back for us, so we'll look the other way, and you're a free man. So he's like, oh, whatever.
He's like,
sure, I got nothing else to do.
Actually, it was more like, sure.
Yeah.
He was Christopher Nolan Batman before Christopher Nolan Batman.
Yeah, he kind of was. That's kind of what. It's not. There isn't a ton of action in the movie, but he kind of is a. This predates a lot of your Die Hards, and I don't know what else you would compare him to now. But then there was like a template of those kind of movies, that centered around basically one particular character, anyway, like that. Because this is before Rambo or those kind of characters came along, really. Except for the only thing I can think of is James Bond, but James Bond's not really an anti-hero.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I suppose the Clint Eastwood impersonation by Kurt Russell kind of makes sense because he's almost more of like a Western character in a futuristic environment. You know? So anyway,
modern cowboy.
Yeah, modern cowboy by 1997 via 1981 standards.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was like, so how do we get him in there? So they basically, so he gets unnoticed, they give him this little glider, which kind of...
They give him a styrofoam airplane.
Yeah. And did it even have an engine?
No.
Yeah. Or do they kind of slingshot him?
Yeah, they
out there?
They pretty much slingshot him into the air so that he can fly, and they have no motor in it because it needs to be silent.
Yeah, because
otherwise people would shoot it out of the sky.
Yeah, and he lands right on the top of the World Trade Center. And then he's kind of running around. He has a tracer because apparently the president had like a little monitor or was wearing like a wristband that kind of like an Apple Watch, I suppose.
Yeah.
A much larger looking Apple Watch with
like a 4-inch Apple Watch.
It was big. And he's like following the signal, and eventually he comes across it, and apparently the bad guys just kind of took it off him and chucked it because they didn't want anybody to find it.
Put it on somebody else who's going around going, I'm the president.
Yeah, I'm the president.
I'm the president.
And it's like, well, he's had it. You want to hear the president? And they put him up to the thing.
I'm the president.
Yeah. Do you...
What a chief.
Sidetrack, do you know who that actor is?
I didn't look that one up.
Well, he showed up. His name's George Buckflower.
Okay.
And he's shown up in some other Carpenter movies like They Live and... Was he in The Thing? I don't think he was in The Thing, but he was in another one. But he's probably most famous for being in Back to the Future, where he wakes up, he's a bum, and Marty McFly comes back. He says, "Oh, I'm crazy drunk drivers."
Okay.
So he kind of has a knack for playing homeless people. But The Fog. He was in The Fog.
Okay.
He's that first guy on the ship. Yeah.
Okay.
Carpenter uses him a lot in movies. So
come be in my movie. I will probably kill you. It's fine.
He's good boogeyman fodder.
George
Buckflower. But anyway, and they figure
that is a great name.
Yeah.
That is right up there with Kurt Russell's stunt double. I then went down a rabbit hole looking up that guy.
I have a story about that too, but I'll save it for the end of the movie. So he figures, the president's probably dead. What am I going to do? And then he kind of happens upon this, people who are in the jail, you need entertainment. So what do? Some of them formed a theater group.
They go to Broadway.
I
was just happy that Broadway was still in business.
And they were actually singing.
Yeah.
And then who do you have in the audience but Ernest Borgnine? He's just sitting there going along with the show.
Being his Borgniniest.
Yeah. Hey, you're Snake Pliskin. And then you get the first iteration, I think. I heard you were dead. And then he kind of gets into a little bit of a snag where people are kind of following him and trying to take him out or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, his name is, the Ernest Borgnine character's name is Cabbie.
Yeah.
Because he's in Manhattan and he drives a cab.
He drives a cab.
He's kind of like the glue between, because he knows.
I want to know what
all
crime
these
he did to get in there, because he said he was a cabbie for 30 years.
Yeah.
That would put him a cabbie way before Manhattan became the prison.
A prison, yeah.
So what did he do?
Or was he
Was
a
he just
cabbie
there?
somewhere else and then got thrown in jail? Maybe he was hauling contraband? I don't know.
Maybe they just built the prison around him and he's just like, what? Okay. I will be a cabbie.
Yeah. And then
It's the only thing I know how.
I guess, I don't know, I've never been there, but in New York there's this famous restaurant or place called Chock full of nuts. And Snake Pliskin's walking through the Chock full of nuts and he runs into this girl, and actually that's...
Just credited as girl in Chock full of nuts.
Yeah, he says,
Hilarious.
I heard you were dead. And you know that, and it was a very glorified cameo because that was Kurt Russell's wife at the time. Her name's Susan Hubley. Mm-hmm. So it's just a reason for her to be in the movie.
Yep.
But I think she was the one who
disappears through the floor.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of creepy though, where you actually see hands come up through the floor and like pulling her down in like a non-demonic kind of way. That's kind of scary. And then they start chasing Pliskin, and all of a sudden the cab pulls up in front of him as he's running down the side. He's like, "Hey, Snake, you need a ride?" He's like, no danger at all. He's just completely oblivious. He gets in the cab, and he's got like 5 Molotov cocktails. Ready to go. He's like, "Oh, I'll take care of that. This is like gold." Boom.
Open flame inside the cab.
Yeah.
That was impressive.
And this is where he kind of learns about how New York works a little bit. It's run by a gangster called the Duke, who is played by Chef from South Park. Isaac Hayes, I should say, is his real name, who's no longer with us. He passed away a few years ago. And he's kind of the one who kind of runs, he's like the Mr. Big or...
He's the Duke.
The Tony Soprano.
number one.
Yeah, he is the Duke. And he's like, "I want to meet this Duke." He's like, "Oh, you don't meet the Duke. When you meet the Duke, you're dead." He's like the cartoon character in the movie. Yeah, he's really good. But instead, he takes him to this other guy he knows called Brain, or his code name is Brain, because he's the one who figures out how to make gas for the cars that are in New York. Otherwise, because the government doesn't give them gas for any of that stuff. And played by Harry Dean Stanton, perfectly cast. And from The Fog, also another John Carpenter player, Adrian Barbeau, who they were.
Were they still married at this point in time?
I believe they were married at this point. Okay. So, and she plays Brain's girlfriend Maggie.
Yep.
And then you figure out then, calls him Harold because apparently he knew him from another prison world.
Yeah.
Yeah, you ran out on me.
Was he part of the Leningrad thing? That was a reoccurring line that I didn't fully understand.
There is a comic about that, though, that I've read.
Cool.
Yeah. I've read a lot about if there's anything like tangential New York. I have an Escape from New York and Big Trouble in Little China crossover comic book.
Wow.
Made by a company called Boom Studios. And, yes, Snake Pliskin meets Jack Burton.
Nice.
Kurt Russell meets Kurt Russell in the comic. And it is, if you're a fan of those movies, it is just gold. It is fun. I don't know that I would say it's good, but it's definitely fun.
May not be good, but it's entertaining.
It is,
and that's all that matters.
Yeah, it is definitely entertaining. Because they make a joke in the comic because, like, whenever there's, like, a boxing match, like, the announcers like to do this thing called Tale of the Tape, where so-and-so is 6'5", this one's 6'3", he has a reach of this many inches. They do that with, like, Snake Pliskin and Jack Burton. And as a joke, they go, like, reach, same. height,
Same.
Yeah, it's
Same.
Everything same.
Same.
Yeah. So they find Brain, and the Brain kind of he knows the Duke, so he kind of like, well, how about you take me to the Duke or I kill you, basically. So and then he's on the other side of town, and like, well, I don't remember why the cabbie can't take him there for some reason, because he had a car.
Right.
And he said, well, that's on the other side of town. I can't take you there. So they basically start walking, and
It's out of his jurisdiction.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
And I gotta say, I love the Duke's entourage, because there is these old, was it a Cadillac? And the Cadillacs have chandeliers on them, on these like hooks. And like
It's a very fancy.
and a little disco ball in the cab. It's like, this is awesome. I love that.
Of course you'd have a disco. It's Isaac Hayes, man.
Damn right, he's Shaft.
Can you dig it?
And then they sneak, they steal this car, and they go through like this bad part of town where people are throwing rocks at them, of course, because they have cars, and hey, we want the car, and like, nope, can't have the car. And I love that you drive through like this. I don't know if it was Broadway or whatever, but there's this street, and it's got all these spikes sticking up, and then they drive by one, and it's got like someone's head sticking. But anyway, they're keeping the Duke, and they find him, and then surprise, surprise, they get captured.
Yep.
And then the Duke says, "Oh, Brain, is this a friend of yours?" Nope, never seen him before. Courtly completely disowns him, and then they capture him, and then you get another "heard you were dead" from the Duke. So I think he was up to 3.
Cabbie. Brain. Girl.
4th. So this would be the 4th
Maggie.
one.
Duke.
Yeah, 4 of them.
4 of them?
Yeah.
5 of them. Because both Brain and Maggie say it.
Does Brain say it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think you did. I know Maggie did, Cabbie did, and the girl did, and then Duke. So that'd be 4, wouldn't it?
I don't remember.
Oh,
It's either 4 or 5.
Right. So
It's running
Snake
joke.
gets captured, and he's only got like, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours left, because I don't think we mentioned this, but he has a time limit. Well, for one, they have to get the president out because there's this peace summit he's supposed to appear at. And if he doesn't show, well, who knows what's going to happen.
No peace.
No
apparently.
peace in the world. And to make sure he gets him out on time, they put this, what do you call it? They're like those paddles you put on to like defibrillator up to his neck, and that actually injected him with some kind of virus or something. But if he brings
like
them,
an explosion.
like little
exploding
microscopic
nose.
explosives.
Yeah.
And if
Nanites.
well, it's basically.
Basically nanites.
And if he doesn't come back in time, those dissolve, and then your blood vessels burst or something.
You explode.
Yeah, you explode basically. And
scanners.
yeah, I sure have. That came out in 1981.
Put it on the list.
We've kind of talked about scanners before a little bit. My head hurts.
Are we at the boxing fight yet?
Well,
it's not really a boxing fight.
I don't think he was
baseball.
I don't think it was I think he was supposed to be. The guy they got to play this, he gets for entertainment. They have, I guess it's wrestling, or maybe it's boxing. I don't really. But
they
there's
hit
a ring.
each other with baseball bats.
Yeah. Well, there is.
I don't know if
it's
wrestling does that.
It's some form of combat, but it's not Mortal Kombat. We'll talk about that another time.
And it's not murder ball.
No,
but it's close.
Murder ball. Yeah, well, it kind of was murder ball. Yeah, there's a ring there, and then this huge guy comes out, and he's apparently going to have his way with Snake Pliskin. But they have like, it's like they don't have the budget for shields, so they use the top of a garbage can, and they have baseball bats with nails in them.
Yes.
It's kind of like some weird gladiatorial thing. And Snake ends up winning. And by
Because
putting...
he's small and wiry.
Because he snuck around him and, well, I don't know.
And that's why you boost your dex stat.
Yeah. But I got to say, though, when the Duke introduced this fight, he says, when we ride out of town tomorrow, our man here is going to lead the way. From the neck up. Yay! Yeah. On the hood of my car. Yay!
Something inaudible. Yay!
Yes. So, anyway.
Captions don't help when it's inaudible.
No. And while this is going on, Brain sneaks out and he frees the president. Mm-hmm. And after
has a sweet wig on.
Oh yeah, you're the Duke of New York, #1. And then people freak out. The president's missing, and so everybody flees. And then Snake, he kind of just stumbles out of there. And
He does this really cool Skippy Run because he had an arrow in his leg.
yeah, someone shot him with an arrow, and so he's kind of limping.
He's limping but running, and I just thought that was the coolest looking run. It's like
It's kind of just kind of hobbling along. And yeah, well, eventually they meet up with Brain again, and they were gonna go get back in the glider, but the trolls kind of flipped it over.
They were the savages.
Yeah.
The Redskins, and it's
Yeah.
like oh yes, 81. Okay.
Yeah, well, that's what they used back then. So they go and they steal one of another car from the Duke's entourage, and they're taking, was it the 69th Street Bridge or something, 49th Street Bridge? And gradually, each one of the passengers, except for Snake and the president, basically gets killed. They run over a landmine, a cabbie dies, then they get out of the car, start walking, Brain steps on a landmine, he dies. And then Maggie's basically distraught.
Maggie's like, this is going to be great. Don't worry, I'll kill the Duke.
And that didn't quite work out. But. So right at the last minute, the Duke catches up to Snake before he gets to the wall. He sends the president up in this little sling or whatever. And then the Duke and Snake are fighting, and then Snake starts going up the wall, and the Duke's going to get his gun out, but all of a sudden the president gets his gun out and says, you're the Duke of New York, and he just shoots him up. Yeah. And we got to wrap this thing up pretty soon, but at the end, he gives them this tape that they're supposed to be recording that he's going to play at the summit, and he swaps it with a tape
Magical MacGuffin
from American Bandstand. And then as he's walking away at the end of the movie, you can see him destroying the actual tape and just walking away. So
they should have just walked past a giant magnet.
yeah, probably.
You want to get rid of a cassette tape.
Okay.
That's how you do it.
We are rapidly running out of time here, but Erin, what grade do you give Escape from New York?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Not really my cup of tea, but okay, I give it a B.
A B? Okay. Yeah, this is one of my favorites. I give this an A. I love this movie. It's not a perfect movie, but whatever flaws it has, it makes up for it in other ways, I think, whether it's funny dialogue or just casting. It was definitely entertaining. So anyway, hopefully this isn't an escape for you, but until next time, I'm Drew.
I'm Erin.
And we'll see you later.
Cable television is the swellest thing they got.